Welcome to the Pump Take Sports Show. Today, we're going to be talking about a little bit of a different sport than we've ever talked about before on the show. The NHL season is beginning. Well, I'm not going to be doing much talking. I don't know much about the NHL, but these two guys do, and they're here to talk to you about each of the divisions, the North, East, West, and the Central Division. And then we have a bracket, Pump Take Sports NHL bracket for the season, including our playoffs and Stanley Cup winner. Lucas, would you like to take it away with the North Division?
Sure. So the North Division is super exciting this year because it's a brand new thing thanks to COVID. We're talking about an all-Canadian division. So we're going to see some awesome matchups. We're going to see like 9 matchups between the Battle of Alberta. So Edmonton and Calgary fans will know that that's one of the best matchups you can get in the NHL. So super exciting division. This is something that I kind of hope that they would keep for years in the future, but unfortunately, I don't think that's going to be the case. So we better enjoy it while it's here. So for our standings, this is the official Pump Take prediction, by the way. We've all put our heads together and come up with these standings. So for the North Division, we have in last place, so 7th place in the North Division, we have the Ottawa Senators. 6th is Montreal. 5th is Winnipeg. And then the playoff teams, we have Calgary finishing 4th, Vancouver finishing 3rd, the Edmonton Oilers finishing 2nd, and the Toronto Maple Leafs finishing 1st. Now, when it comes to the Toronto Maple Leafs finishing 1st, it was between the Edmonton Oilers and the Toronto Maple Leafs. And really what it came down to was the goaltending for me between those two teams. Edmonton they have the offense really that could put them over the top. And they've got a lot of good young defensemen that could really help out their goalies as well. But, the tandem of Mike Smith and Mikko Koskinen just doesn't really do it for me in the sense of being able to win their division in the regular season. Toronto Maple Leafs have solid goaltending in Frederik Andersen. So I see them getting the top seed there and playing Calgary in the first round. What do you think, Kel?
I completely agree with you, especially with the goaltending point. And I think one thing to kind of build on that is that in a shortened season, like teams are only playing 56 games, goaltending will have an even bigger impact because Frederik Andersen is going to be able to play a larger percentage of the games than he would in an 82-game season. So I think in a shortened season, that's having your best goalie, who's also obviously an elite goalie in the NHL, that's going to really benefit them as he's able to play just a higher percentage of the games.
Yeah, and I know it's tough for you to see your Ottawa Senators sitting on the bottom of the standings, but
yeah,
I'll tell you when we talk about another division later, that I'm going to be in the same boat as you. But the Ottawa Senators have a really exciting young team. It's going to be great to watch guys like Tim Stützle and Eric Brandstrom and obviously Thomas Chabot who's already on the team, come together and see what they can do. I don't think it's out of the question that Ottawa could potentially battle with Montreal there for the 6th seed. I've seen a lot of people that have been putting Montreal in the playoffs. I even saw a hot take from Sportsnet saying that Montreal could potentially win the division. So I think that the reasoning behind that is mostly because they think that because of the strong additions Montreal has made on the back end, they might be able to strengthen their ability to keep the puck out of the net, especially if Carey Price plays well. But really, when it comes down to it, I think Calgary, Vancouver, Edmonton, and Toronto are the favorites to make the playoffs. I was wanting to put Winnipeg in there as well, but after not this past offseason, but the one before when they lost Dustin Byfuglien and Jacob Trouba and Tyler Myers, their defense is really, really struggling. And yes, they have the reigning Vezina Trophy winner in Connor Hellebuyck, but unfortunately, I just think that Winnipeg is just a little bit top heavy with their forwards, and they may have a bit of trouble competing and getting into the playoffs that way. The Calgary Flames had a beautiful pickup on between the pipes this offseason. They got Jacob Markstrom from the Vancouver Canucks. That really fixes their biggest glaring hole in their lineup because they were running with David Riddick beforehand. But Jacob Markstrom is a bona fide elite goaltender in the league. And you could have made a case for him to win the Vezina last year as well in Vancouver. He was by far their MVP of the season. So it's going to be great pickup for the Calgary Flames. And I think that the Flames could even contend with the top 2 teams I have there in the division. Vancouver just is a little bit too inexperienced, but they've got the talent to make the playoffs.
Is there anything else you want to add to the North, or should we move to the East Division?
I think we can go on.
All right. What's the East Division standings looking like there, Lucas?
So the East Division, this is an interesting one. This could be probably the most stacked division in the league this year. We've got the New Jersey Devils finishing 8th. The Buffalo Sabres finishing 7th. They're still not able to make it into the playoffs in my mind. The New York Islanders in 6th. The Philadelphia Flyers in 5th. The New York Rangers in 4th are going to sneak into the playoffs. Pittsburgh Penguins in 3rd. Washington Capitals in 2nd. And the Boston Bruins in 1st. So another point to make about the Toronto Maple Leafs and why they could finish 1st is because they're not in a division with the Bruins this year and the Lightning as well. So I think Boston comfortably sits atop this division, their division this year. I know they lost players like Torrey Krug and Zdeno Chara on their back end, but Boston still has Tuukka Rask in net. Charlie McAvoy is one of the best young defense in the league. So I think Boston can still, the reigning President's Trophy winners, can still stick to the top of their division there. But Washington and Pittsburgh are going to be right on their heels. Obviously, you can't argue against Sidney Crosby and Alex Ovechkin and the impact they have on their team's success. Never bet against those guys. And the New York Rangers, this is one of the most exciting teams in the league to me. They just put together like a beautiful little rebuild on the fly, a couple of years at the bottom of the standings, and now look at them. They've got Artemi Panarin, who was a Hart Trophy finalist last year. They've got Alexis Lafreniere, who could win Rookie of the Year. Igor Shesterkin, who could also win Rookie of the Year in net. They lost Henrik Lundqvist, but Igor Shesterkin had absolutely outstanding numbers in the KHL prior to his NHL stint last year, in which he had a 10-2 record. And guys like Mika Zibanejad as your top line center, and Kaapo Kakko, you can't write him off after he had a slow start to his NHL career last year. So I like the Rangers to make the playoffs. What do you think, Kale?
Yeah, I think another team to consider in this division is the Philadelphia Flyers. Just like going back to the importance of goaltending that we were talking about earlier, Carter Hart, he's a player who I think could be a Vezina Trophy candidate this year. And at age 22, he could look to make a big step. And I think that if he's able to kind of like share a big portion of the workload in 2021 and step into becoming truly an elite starting goaltender for the Flyers, that he could make a big difference in their chances to compete in this division.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Carter Hart has shown signs of being able to be potentially the best goalie in the league someday. And he could make that step this year even. He reminds me a lot of Carey Price a little bit in the net, the way he's so poised and calm in the net. And yeah, if he can put together a great campaign, the Philadelphia Flyers could totally sneak in there instead of the New York Rangers. I feel like the top 3 are pretty comfortable. But the Rangers could falter a little bit with their inexperience, and the Flyers could absolutely sneak in as well. A team that I don't want to write off either, the New York Islanders had a fantastic year last year. I think it was a little bit of a fluke. But they're just a team that is able to grind you down and play such a slow, boring defensive style of game that they managed to have so much success last year. So the Islanders shouldn't be written off as well. And the Buffalo Sabres made some beautiful moves this offseason. They got Taylor Hall, former MVP. They got Eric Stahl to put alongside guys like Sam Reinhart, guys like Jack Eichel, and Rasmus Ristolainen on your back end. The Buffalo Sabres shouldn't be written off entirely, but the fact that they're still the Buffalo Sabres, they've got a little bit of culture issues. I still don't see them getting out of the basement quite yet.
Well, and you like to see, this is going to be the least analytical thing you'll hear on the show all day, but I'd like to see the Rangers do well. I think they have nice colors, nice jerseys. I kind of like what they got going on with the first overall pick too. And with our New York sports following between the Giant, me and Sneed talk about the Giants so much on football shows and the Knicks video, you'd like to see a New York team do good for the New York sports market. But aside from the East to the West, the Western Division, Pat, what are we doing here?
All right, this is my division. Doesn't look good for us though. So for our West Division, we've got in the 8th spot, last place, contending for potentially a nice lottery pick this year, we've got the LA Kings. In 7th place, the Anaheim Ducks, and in 6th place, the San Jose Sharks. So we've got the 3 California teams sitting at the bottom of the West Division. In 5th place, just outside the playoffs looking in, I have the Minnesota Wild. I was debating between these 2 teams for 5th and 4th. And in 4th place, making the playoffs, we have the Arizona Coyotes. They made it last year, and I think they could potentially do it again. In 3rd, we've got the St. Louis Blues. 2nd, Vegas Golden Knights. And 1st, the Colorado Avalanche. I think Colorado is, along with Vegas, are both like far and away better than the rest of the teams in this division. Colorado just has one of the deepest lineups that you see across the entire league. The only potential weakness to the Colorado Avalanche lineup is their goaltending. Their 2 goalies in Pavel Francouz and Philip Grubauer are a little bit unproven. However, I think that Philip Grubauer will be the one that gets most of the starts, and he has shown flashes of being a top-end goaltender. And Pavel Francouz has also had stretches where he's shown that he might contend with Philip Grubauer for the number one minutes in the crease. So I think if you can run with, even if one of those guys falters, you have another nice bona fide goaltender that you can get a good start out of to toss in there. The goalie tandem thing is really becoming a popular trend in the NHL these days, where it's not just about having one really good elite goaltender, but it's about having 2 guys that you can run with, especially to kind of like balance out the workload and not make sure you don't overwork one of your goalies going into the playoffs. The Vegas Golden Knights have never missed the playoffs in their entire existence, and I expect them to maintain that streak this year. They honestly are a top 5 betting favorite for the Stanley Cup at the end of the year. They just named Mark Stone their captain. They've got solid players like Max Pacioretty and a beautiful addition of Alex Pietrangelo on the back end to go along with Shea Theodore, which could be potentially one of the best top pairings in the league. You might be seeing guys pairing of Shea Theodore and Alex Pietrangelo at the Olympics in 2022 next year for Team Canada. So keep an eye on that pairing, see how they do. The St. Louis Blues, the Stanley Cup champions from 2019, a lot of their success is going to be riding on the shoulders of Jordan Binnington in net. I see them making the playoffs. I don't see them contending for as much as they did back in their Stanley Cup winning year. And the Arizona Coyotes, the reason I put them in here is because, first of all, I think Darcy Kemper is a really underrated goaltender in the league. And the Minnesota Wild, the team that I picked them over, I've seen that they just seem to have trouble finding that spark that can really get them over the hump. When Minnesota does make the playoffs, they tend to flop out in the first round. And they're kind of waiting on their young guys to come and take the reins of the team. They did finally move on from Mikko Koivu, who's now playing on Buffalo as well, actually. But it'll be interesting to see that little battle, because I think that the California teams are pretty solidified themselves as the bottom 3 in the division. What do you think, Joe?
Yeah, I agree with pretty much everything you just said about just like, I think these top 2 teams in the Avalanche and the Golden Knights are pretty locked up. Well, the Blues did get a little bit better off during the offseason by adding Mike Hoffman, who was probably one of the better scorers on the free agent market. They're going to be a playoff team, but I don't think that they're going to really have what it takes to be like a truly like top contending team. I think the Avalanche are the not the clear pick, because the Golden Knights are still a very good team, but they definitely should be the favorite to win this division, like you said. They added Brendan Saad this offseason to add some good secondary scoring, and Devon Toews really reinforces their blue line. So I agree with you that the Colorado Avalanche should be the favorite to win this division.
Yeah, the Saad and Toews additions were fantastic because they add secondary scoring to a team that already has loads of it. So anyway, let's move on.
I love to see your commitment to the Kings, Lucas, even though they're a lottery team and they're at the bottom of the division. You gotta love a loyal fan.
We could end up on top of Anaheim and San Jose this year. Just wait for our slate of rookies to come out flying on and firing on all cylinders. We'll see.
With those jerseys, you just got to hope you're getting more national TV too.
Oh, look at how beautiful it is, eh?
The Central Division. What are we thinking about this one, Lucas?
Okay, so the Central Division, This is the division with our defending Stanley Cup champions, the Tampa Bay Lightning. In 8th place in this division, we have the lowly Detroit Red Wings, potentially the only worse team than my LA Kings and Kale's Ottawa Senators. In 7th place, we have the Chicago Blackhawks. In 6th, we have the Florida Panthers. Just outside the playoffs, we have the Columbus Blue Jackets, looking at the Carolina Hurricanes in 4th place, making the playoffs. 3rd place, we have the Nashville Predators, followed by Dallas Stars in 2nd and Tampa Bay Lightning in 1st. It is interesting to see both of our previous Stanley Cup finalists from last year playing in the same division this year. That is going to be very interesting to see the Stars and Tampa Bay Lightning duke it out in the Central. But I have the Tampa Bay Lightning in 1st, obviously, because they have the deepest and best roster in all of hockey. You can't argue against a team that is wielding, albeit an injured Nikita Kucherov, Braden Point, Steven Stamkos, Victor Hedman on defense, and Andre Vasilevsky in that. They're just strong at every position, and you can't argue against your Stanley Cup champions. The Detroit Red Wings, there's not much to say about them. They're a young rebuilding team. They've got some good prospects coming up in the system, but they're not ready to make a push yet for the playoffs. The Chicago Blackhawks doing the same thing as well. They still have Patrick Kane and Jonathan Toews that they can put together a nice showing every once in a while, but those guys are getting up there in age a little bit, and like the Blackhawks are also kind of doing a little New York Rangers style retool on the fly. The Florida Panthers, I have them missing the playoffs. They just tend to not be able to really put it all together when it really matters. Barkov and Huberdeau are one of the best tandems in the league, to be honest with you. Most underrated anyway, but I have Florida missing the playoffs. They're a little bit weak in net as well. Sergei Bobrovsky didn't have a great year last year, and it kind of hurt them in their playoff chances. The Nashville Predators in 3rd place, they have one of the deepest defensive cores in the league, so it's going to be really interesting. It's not going to be interesting. It has been interesting to watch how they've done with that defensive core. They've got Roman Josi, the reigning Norris Trophy winner, as well as Ryan Ellis. So I've got them in 3rd, just behind our 2 Stanley Cup finalists. And the Carolina Hurricanes as well are also a super young up-and-coming team. It's going to be great to see whether guys like Andrei Svechnikov and Martin Necas can really break out this year and bring them to new heights.
One thing I got to add, Lucas, I love the name the Hurricanes for a professional sports team. I think it's really cool. And 2, I like the old Florida Panthers logo better than their new one. I know that's zero hockey insight, but that's just a guy who doesn't watch hockey talking about some things.
The old one was jumping out at you from the jersey. Yeah, that was a cool logo.
That was way better than their new one.
Yeah, their new one, the Panther looks like a house cat now. It's just kind of like sitting in a shield, and it's like looking off into the distance.
Yeah,
like, that's not menacing at all.
Detailed sports logos.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah, like I agree with you again. That's just the Tampa Bay Lightning are the clear winner of this division, and it really just speaks volumes to just how deep they are as a team that they can lose Nikita Kucherov and still just be considered this good. Like, they have one of the deepest forward groups in the league, and it's not even close. Like, with the budding superstar in Braden Point, he's coming off an amazing postseason last year. They're gonna be a really good team.
Yeah, and if you look at the fact that they were able to win the Stanley Cup without Steven Stamkos in the lineup for the entire playoffs except for like one game, that's your best player, that's your captain, and he was sidelined the entire time, and they still managed to win the Stanley Cup. That just speaks volumes to the potential and the talent of the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Mm-hmm.
I played fantasy hockey for one season, and once again, I didn't know anything. I was just drafting based on the one article that I read before I did it. And this is a long time ago, and I picked Steven Stamkos first overall. Not first overall, sorry, within the first round. And he broke his leg. And so I've always had this little resentment out for Steven Stamkos because he just railed my 1 year of fantasy hockey. But anyway, thank you for tuning in to our division picks for the NHL season 2021 season. Yeah, 2021. Wow. 2021 season. Thanks for watching, and we will see you next time.